What's up, Dolphins fans? It's my favorite day of the week, Wednesday, because we are live with you on Dolphins Today. And I'm in a great mood. I've had way too much coffee. I've had a few little extra zip fizzes, things to get you going, get the gears turning. It's like putting WD-40 in your brain, just ready to go. Yes, the Dolphins are coming off their first loss of the season, but I'll say it. I know Mike McDaniel and company, they're not saying it, but this is a get-right game. 10.5-point favorites to open. Now the line, the last I checked, is all the way up to 11. I'm very confident, but as I said in my preview, not overly confident. But we got a great live show coming up for you. And I'm excited to tell you what's coming up next, because Wednesday is a big news day with that updated and latest injury report coming out of Miami. So we'll take a look at that, what Mike McDaniel had to say, and what team the Dolphins will be playing with on Sunday against the Giants. Some big names missing, but we'll sort all through that. And I love an Ask Anything weekly mailbag. Get your questions in using the hashtag Dolphins, or, hey, skip the line and do a little super chat action. Listen, I'm going to let you in behind the curtain for a little bit. Those meetings we have here at Chat Sports. They said, Reetma, you're still the new guy, but let's get a few more super chats. So, yes, we have our super chat menu for our Sunday live watch party, but you know what? Anytime we're live, you can send in a super chat. And as always, make sure you're subscribed to the channel for all the latest Dolphins news. And it's never too early to start talking a little trade topics, right? So the Dolphins have some potential big names they could zero in on. I'll tell you all about that on today's show. But before we go any further, part of the highlight of a live show is welcoming in Jeremy Chuggs. How the hell are you? Yes. Listen, my goal for today, my show goal was to match the energy level of the one and only Jeremy Chuggs.
Let's go.
That's why I was down in coffee. I was down, and you know what? Chase Sr., you guys have seen him on the Eagles show and the 49ers show. He had a lot of coffee.
A lot of coffee today. Sherry May, Sean Brady, a lot of real ones in the chat right now. I see you. And Gary Thompson, I get it. A little bit too much talking. Now let's do some listening. I want to hear from you. I want to hear from the fans here on Dolphins Today. Where are you watching from? We're going to give some shout-outs to where our Dolphins Today listeners are. It spans far and wide, Reetma.
No doubt. We are nationwide. We're global. We had somebody from Australia tuning into
worldwide.
Tuning into our live watch party on Sunday. So let me know in the chat, where are you watching from? How about some shout-outs all the way? Sherry May from Florida Space Coast. We've got Zach watching from Miami. Where else we got? Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. That's Rifleman. Let's see. Troy Nestor also watching from Pennsylvania.
Carlos from Puerto Rico.
Oh, nice area. I heard it's lovely this time of year. Matthew Arnold from Howard County, Florida. Craig from Hollywood. I'm assuming Hollywood, Florida. I've been. It's nice. I don't know, but maybe it's Hollywood, California. There's a lot of Hollywood
Better
out
Hollywood.
There. Hollywood, Florida, all the way. Not even close. Dallas, shout out Jesus from Dallas. FinFan69, nice. FinFan, Avon, Illinois. And who else we've got? Gary Thompson Jr. from H-Town, Houston. That's where Jeremy Chuggs is from.
H-Town.
Listen, we're not going to get into all that, but don't even worry. We got Sean Brady from North Dakota, a Fins fan. Probably don't see a lot of Dolphins in North Dakota, but thanks for tuning in. Al's watching in Hawaii. How about that? Austin from Ohio.
Hey, we appreciate everybody who's watching. We appreciate all the viewers. And we appreciate today's show sponsor, Game Time.
We sure do, because Game Time is far and away the best app, and in my humble opinion, the only app needed to score tickets to a live event. Look, I was using Game Time way before I came to Chat Sports, and that is because it is simply the best and most efficient way to secure last-minute tickets, knowing you're getting the best deals on the best seats. Look, I was telling Chugs this story before we went on air. I used Game Time one time when I was in California, scored last-minute ticket deals to see Shohei Ohtani. Now, look it. This is a long time ago. It was earlier this year. I know I'm not going to get into everything that happened with the Angels, but it was so cool to see a guy pitch and hit, and all I had to do was use the Game Time app for that. So download the Game Time app, and we got a special deal for you. $20 off your first purchase by using that promo code FINSCHAT. Now, it's spelled out for you on the screen, but it's PHINSCHAT, FINSCHAT. So, snag the tickets without any stress. That's what Game Time's all about. Download the Game Time app, create that account, use the code FINSCHAT, PHINS, chat for that $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but once you create that account and redeem that code, we're giving you $20 off as long as you use code FINSCHAT. Download Game Time today for last-minute tickets with the lowest price guaranteed.
Yeah, you knocked that out of the park, Rima.
Hey, I see what you did there. Just like we got some, it's playoff baseball time. You know what? The Miami Marlins are in the playoffs.
Let's get into some Dolphins talk.
Let's do it. Yeah. Stay focused here. Dolphins talk. Who you got? Dolphins talk. Let me know in the chat. I want to see as many D's from everybody that's watching, because anybody that's typing G in the chat for the G-men can get the hell out of here.
If you're typing G, you're either dumb or stupid or Marshall Green.
Hey,
Those are the three if you're typing your G's.
Listen, I am willing and able to get the trash talk going early on a Wednesday. That's how confident I am in our
Marshall.
Dolphins. Yeah, I love Marshall. The guy's got the best shoulders in the office, best shoulders this side of the Mason-Dixon line. However, this Sunday, it's not going to be pretty for him or those shoulders.
Those shoulders are going to be slumping, Marsh.
No doubt. They'll still look magnificent because I don't know how he does it. That guy could probably shrug a ton. That said, his Giants are going down on Sunday. I mean, by the time this game kicks off, it could be the Dolphins a 2-touchdown favorite.
I actually missed your video earlier this week. What are like some of your keys to victory, or what do you think the Dolphins need to do against the Giants?
Well, you know what? Before we get into that, Jeremy Chugs, if you subscribe to Dolphins Today, you won't miss a thing because you get that little join the Noti gang, you get a little push notification. But listen, some of this is getting back to the basics. I talked about this in our preview. And when you are the team that has the clear advantage on paper, it becomes about executing. And some of this is football, jargon. Yeah, okay, rah, 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 go out there and execute. But this offensive line has to protect Tua. This Giants defense is near the bottom. They're not the very worst. That's the Giants offense. The very worst in the National Football League is the Giants offense. But this is such a get-right opportunity on both sides of the ball. What did the Giants give up on Monday Night Football? I think 50 sacks? No, it was 49. They gave up 49 sacks. And this is the Dolphins defense that has shown they can get off after the quarterback, but they didn't get after the quarterback in that game against the Buffalo Bills. So what an opportunity against a weak Giants offensive line. And that's where this game, I think, is going to be won or lost in the trenches. Because on the flip side, I think there's plenty of opportunities for this Dolphins offense to get back on track by way of the running game or the passing game. They've got the clear advantage in both of those areas. So if you haven't already, type it in the chat who you got for Sunday's game.
I actually have another question for you, Rima.
I've got answers, hopefully.
How about this? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling like $1 million. I am so confident in this Dolphins team for Sunday. Listen, we want you to scale it in the comments, 1 through 10. How confident are you in the Dolphins win on Sunday? You know what? Full permission to type 100, because if I were you and I were watching this game, I would say I have 100% confidence in the Dolphins to secure a win on Sunday against the lowly Giants. And you know what? I think I did say the Giants are desperate in my preview. They are. The Giants are desperate. I don't think they're quite ready to punt on the season like maybe the Bears or the Panthers, where you're into the Caleb Williams sweepstakes quite yet. But once the Giants leave Hard Rock Stadium after losing 41-20, that was my score prediction, they will be ready to punt on the season. So let me know in the comments, scale it 1 through 10, your confidence level in a Dolphins victory on Sunday, back at home, Hard Rock Stadium, going up against an inferior opponent in the New York Giants, a team that is searching for answers in a lot of different ways. I mean, Daniel Jones, of course, hasn't been the guy yet. He's thrown 6 interceptions compared to just 2 touchdowns. So this is a get-right opportunity for the Miami Dolphins, and I don't see any scenario in which they don't.
It doesn't worry you a little bit that the spread is up to Dolphins favorited by 11?
No, I love it. Like I said, I think the spread should be 14 by the time the game kicks off because I think, what does the old saying go? You get 3.5 for being at home, and I think this team should be a 10-point favorite. You add the 3.5. There you go, 13.5. I hope they win by 2 touchdowns.
I saw somebody saying Raheem Mostert didn't practice today. Is he going to be out on Sunday? Don't have to worry. I actually took a quick picture of the Dolphins injury report from today. He's listed as not injury-related rest. So I think we're good there.
Yeah. Listen, we're going to get into the whole injury report, and Wednesday's one of those days, maybe it's a get-right day, a little rest, a little recuperation, a little R&R. And Raheem Mostert, I see this as a great opportunity for him to bounce back because he had his worst game of the season on Sunday against the Buffalo Bills. So I think he'll be fine. And, obviously there are, you get into this point of the season. Here we go, heading into week 5, those bumps and bruises starting to add up a little bit. And it'll be interesting to see who plays on
Interesting
Sunday.
name on the injury report as well. Guess who was limited today? Nick Needham.
How about that? That was, Chugs, I was excited to get into that because this secondary could use a boost in some capacity. And maybe Nick Needham is that guy. He was limited in practice, trying to come back from that Achilles injury. Gosh, that was a while ago now. And he could be a welcomed addition. I don't think it'll happen in week 5. I'm more interested to see if Cam Smith finally gets some ticks. The rookie, the second-round draft pick. Some of the beat writers that cover this Miami Dolphins team have been basically begging for Vic Fangio to give the rookie out of South Carolina a shot. And again, we're going to discuss it, but might be the time to do it against a bad Giants offense after a week in which the secondary proved they could certainly use some help. So, want to get some more shout-outs going? Sherry May says Needham, yes. A-Chain going for A-Chan now. A-Chan, that's my mistake. The A-Chain train.
I will say, I'm going to, in the first segment, I'm going to put that photo in, and then I also just did a little player of Nick Needham, so we can just talk about him for a second as well.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. Who else is confident in a Dolphins victory? Let me know. Kevin Lucas, I love this, said they should be a 70-point favorite. Love that. Rusky237 says Miami's home field. We got Matt St. Farms in the chat. Scotty B, I'm betting the Dolphins to take their aggression out on the helpless Giants. Yes, couldn't agree more. Agree more.
This is the best team to play, honestly, coming off a loss like you did last weekend.
Right.
And I say that now, but I feel like I'm getting too overconfident in myself right now. But you can't help but feel a little good that you're playing a Giants team that's in complete turmoil. I mean, rumors came out today that Daniel Jones actually gifted Brian Dable one of those touchscreen tablets.
Yeah. Wait, was that true? I saw this story. I thought it was a joke. That can't possibly be true.
It was a joke. It was a joke. Marshall Green, our Giants host, is laughing right now as I say it. But
yeah, he probably bought him ice cream too, just like Zach Wilson did.
Giants are already on the Caleb Williams train. So
really, you think they punted on the season? I don't know. This is the playoff team from a year ago. They won a playoff game a year ago.
Do y'all think the Giants have any chance of making the playoffs? Why for yes and for no in the comment section? I don't think so. I think they're already ready to pack it up. I think they're done with the Daniel Jones experiment. I think realized that it was a mistake paying Daniel
I was
Jones.
just about to say, they can't be that done with him because they gave him a long-term deal.
I think they're done with him.
Yeah. All right. We gotta change directions a little bit here. We've got over 100 people watching, yet we only have 30 likes on this
video. Can we
video.
get to 50?
I think we can get to video. We can get to 50 on this video before we officially start the show. So this is like the pregame right now. This is like we're ready to run out on the field. They got the smoke machines ready to go. The cheerleaders are dancing, waving their pom-poms right next to me. And I'm ready to run through the wall.
How are the cheerleaders dancing?
Like,
oh.
Get it together. Let's go. I was never known for my ability to dance or move or have rhythm, but you know what? I got quick feet out here.
Yeah.
I did some pass rushing, as you would know. You stuffed me on that one. I need a rematch on that. For those that don't know, me and Chugs went one-on-one in the office. Although Chipper, one of the other producers, was playing center and kind of had a chip block. It was very...
Oh, it's in his name.
Yeah, right. I also want to go full pads. So we're going to have to figure out how we can get some shoulder pads.
Rima, I don't want to embarrass you.
I actually would welcome that. And
I don't want to embarrass you too much just because I already know what I can do. And I don't want to display that in front of everybody. You know, like I don't want to.
I would love nothing more, Chugs, than for you to have to buy a few more of those awesome Jack Nicklaus polos because I'm so violent with my hands and I rip it through.
One-on-one. Who's winning? Type C for Chugs, type R for Reetma. Who do you think? I already showed him who's boss in the office earlier this week.
Listen, this is going to sound
Jack,
it's going to sound like excuses. You had a wall. You had a drywall. The angle was so bad.
Everybody saw.
Listen. I shouldn't have even gone through with that, but new guy, haha, let's get a laugh in the office. I did. But the angle of that, if you could picture it, unbelievable. And I know I sound like a guy making excuses.
Excuses are like?
Behinds.
Yep, exactly.
With a hole. Everybody has them, and they all
I'm not saying
stink.
you're bad. I'm just saying I'm better.
No, that's fair. You know what? That you are like the guy that has to tell themselves all the time that they're better. And I love that. We got some C's coming in the chat. We got Jay. I think Sherry May is saying J for Jake. So I'm gonna take that one. Because Sherry May, I ride or die with Sherry May, as I know you do.
I think Sherry May's typing a J for Jeremy.
Oh, no way. How are we doing on those likes? We got 56. Can we get to 75? Come on. I'm still in the tunnel, ready to run through. The cheerleaders are going wild. They got the Jumbotron up there. They got fireworks going off. And all we need to start the show are 10 more likes. Can we get 10 more likes? Let's freaking go. Come on. 10 more likes. 10 more likes. That's all we need. Speaking of, how about the hands inside. Defeat the block. That's our Giants host, Marshall. You're going to get getting to know him really well because we're going to have a like battle with
I'm eating your lunch this week.
No way. We're having a like battle this week, a sub battle, a super chat battle.
Marshy,
I love him, but he is going to cry real tears. You know what? I've made a lot of people cry real tears, and I've been fired from jobs for making people cry real tears, but this time it's warranted. This time it will be accepted. Nobody can complain to HR to me because we are going to dominate.
You got fired for making somebody cry?
Yeah. They couldn't take the heat, Chugs. I was just pointing out the obvious.
All right, let's get into today's show before any more craziness.
Yeah, let's do it. Hey, we got a super chat. How about that? Go Phillies. Suck it, Reetma. Oh, Chase Sr. Oh, the host of the Eagles channel sending in a super chat. He's one of those Philly scumbags. Of course. The guy just has to talk all kinds of junk about his teams. And you know what? He deserves his flowers. There you go. Enjoy it now because that win the Phillies got last night, probably the only one.
Read between the lines, Senior. Read between the lines.
That said, he's got some great calves. I'm not going to lie. I love it when he wears shorts because I can just zero in on the calves, and they are, boom, impressive. All right, subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/Dolphins News. The latest, the greatest, all the time, and let's get it going.
You ready to go?
Yeah, that's what the.
I wasn't ready. I wasn't
All right,
ready.
all right, listen,
Wait. How about this? Type me if you're ready to get it going today. Type me in the chat if you're ready for us to start the show with read Ms. on one. I think the coffee's got you off the rocker.
Oh, there was something good in that coffee. Chase Sr. made it, so anything goes wrong, we blame him.
Maybe something special in that coffee. I don't know.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Chase, I don't know what you put in that coffee, but this man is ready to run through a brick wall.
Boom! The Miami Dolphins make me ready to run through a brick wall.
All right, here we go.
I'm sweating.
2, 1.
Welcome into Dolphins Today. I am your host, Jake Reitma, and so glad to have you along for another edition of Dolphins Today. We've got a lot to get to today, starting with the latest injury report out of Miami in preparation for the Week 5 matchup against the New York Football Giants. And look, I think you and I could go out there and beat the Giants. They are so decimated at this point. However, it is important to note who the Dolphins will be without this week. And already, we thought it would be this way, but Terron Armstead has been ruled out. Now, Mike McDaniel did say he's not ready to put Armstead on the IR, but he left that game against the Buffalo Bills in the second quarter, did not return. It's a knee injury. Armstead missed the first 2 games of the season, played in Week 3 and Week 4, well, part of Week 4 before leaving against the Buffalo Bills, and now has been ruled out for the foreseeable future, including, of course, the Week 5 game against the New York Football Giants. Now, some exciting news. We could be nearing the return of Nick Needham. Remember, he went out with that torn Achilles a while ago, and today marks his first return to the Dolphins practice, albeit it was a limited participant in practice, but he's been inactive all season long. And look, we know this Dolphins secondary could use some help, absolutely. So that might be a welcomed addition to the Dolphins secondary if and when Needham is ready to go. I personally don't necessarily think it's going to be Week 5 right away, but of course, seeing him return to practice is a welcome sign. Now, we talked about this a few days ago, but this was the first tweet regarding Terron Armstead's status and officially being ruled out by Mike McDaniel. He's been quoted as saying it's going to be weeks, not days, with Terron Armstead. But as I mentioned, he's still not ready for Armstead to go on IR, but we can declare that, in fact, Terron Armstead's not going to play on Sunday against the Giants. So Kendall Lamb will play in his place, and make no mistake about it, yes, Armstead's the all-pro tackle and has been phenomenal. He was doing cartwheels in that win against the Denver Broncos. It helps when you put up 70 points. But without Terron Armstead, Kendall Lamb has filled in admirably. However, on Sunday against the Bills, nobody played well. It was the worst game of the season by far for this Dolphins offensive line. They allowed the 4 sacks. They'd only allowed 1 sack in the season prior to that game against the Buffalo Bills, and that encompasses the first 3 games. So 1 sack in 3 games, 4 sacks in 1 game. Not great. Tua was hit 9 times, also a season high, and the 5 tackles for loss. The Bills were in the backfield seemingly all afternoon. Now, I don't want to go crazy and start pointing the finger of blame, but I'd rather shed some light on how well Kendall Lamb has played in filling in for Terron Armstead. He's been one of the highest graded offensive linemen on Pro Football Focus, in particular in the pass game, which would be a welcomed addition to this Dolphins offense, because obviously, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. This Dolphins offense is predicated around keeping Tua Tagovailoa clean, keeping the defense out of the backfield, giving him time to throw, and then everything flows like magic to the tune of 70 points against the Denver Broncos and being the number 1 scoring offense in the National Football League. So there are some holes, as we saw in Buffalo, and when that offensive line is exposed, listen, it's not great. So I ask you, let me know in the comments, what is your concern level with this offensive line? Scale it for me 1 through 10, because At times, I think you'd be warranted to put a 10. But at other times, I think you could say, listen, Kendall Lamb as a backup, Isaiah Wynn, all those guys, Connor Williams, there were some questions around him. They've all played pretty well, and of course, until the Buffalo game. So let me know in the comments, be honest, scale it for me, 1 through 10, your concern of the offensive line. Now, that Dolphins offensive line depth chart. Terron Armstead, we know, let's work our way left to right, is going to be replaced by Kendall Lamb. Again, we mentioned he's been one of the best replacements at the offensive line position, in particular in pass blocking. He's been really good. Connor Williams up front, also been really good. Without him, they certainly missed him at that center position because in week 4 against the Bills, it was Liam Eichenberg filling in, and I don't want this to come across personal towards Liam Eichenberg, but he just simply was not good enough. On the right side, Robert Hunt and Austin Jackson have both played well, and well enough to believe in this Dolphins offensive line, especially as it relates to Connor Williams. So look at that Pro Football Focus grade. Right at an 80, he's been one of the better offensive linemen, and in his absence on Sunday against the Buffalo Bills, it was so painfully obvious how much this Dolphins team depends on Connor Williams at the center position because his replacement, Liam Eichenberg, again, I'm not lambasting the guy. I have nothing against him personally. He just was not good enough. Take a look at this tweet from Dolphin Nation. Liam Eichenberg has a pass pro grade of 10.6, and unfortunately, that's out of 100. 10.6. Which is ranked 44th out of 44 centers. The second lowest on the list is Michael Dieter at 28. That said, it's egregiously bad. And it's inexcusably bad. And again, nothing against the guy. He's just not good enough to play in the National Football League. So Connor Williams is paramount to the success of this Dolphins offensive line, both because he's been playing well and counterpoint, his replacement, he ain't that good. He stinks, as some would say in this office. Not great. So, again, nothing personal against the guy. Just hasn't been good enough. And if you want your offense to continue to thrive, continue to be the top scoring offense in the National Football League, we got to do better than Liam Eichenberg at the center position. Now, coming up on Dolphins today, the team made a couple of roster moves, and I think it's worth mentioning. So we'll get into all of that. But first, I want to tell you about Game Time. Proud sponsor of today's show, huge supporter of Dolphins Today. And look, it's the only ticketing app I use for live events. I was using it way before I came to Chat Sports, from where, whether I'm on the road, whether I'm getting the guys together for a last minute ordeal, Game Time has the best seats available, best price, even if it's last minute day of. And I also love the app, super easy to use. Some of those apps give you kind of like a rendering or just a diagram of where you might sit. No, Game Time, you get an actual picture, which gives you a better view of what your seat will actually look like. And because you're a Dolphins fan, Dolphin Today subscriber, we've got $20 off for you using that promo code FINSCHAT. Now, it's PHINSCHAT. So FINS, PHINS, chat gets you $20 off your first purchase. So take the stress out of buying tickets. That's what Game Time's all about. Lowest prices, best deals, guarantee. Don't wait. Download the Game Time app today. Create that account and use code FINSCHAT for $20 off your first purchase. Now, terms do apply, but create that account, redeem the code using PHINSCHAT for 20 buckaroos off, and take the stress out of buying tickets. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. That's why I love Game Time. So, Dolphins moves that they made as it relates to the active roster. They signed 2 different players, starting with Mark Milton and the wide receiver Freddie Swain. Milton played at Baylor, was a cornerback, and actually spent some time with the Carolina Panthers before he was cut. And now, you know what? He could be a guy that fits in eventually at that cornerback position because we know that's a position group of weakness with this Miami Dolphins team. So, young guy, why not take a flyer on Mark Milton? I'm not saying he's going to come right in and be an immediate impact, but more depth added to the cornerback room. Now, as it relates to the wide receiver room, River Cracraft on injured reserve officially, so that means some roster adjustments necessary. Freddie Swain is a guy that's been on the Dolphins practice squad, spent the preseason with the Dolphins, and now is going to get a chance on the 53-man roster. Also, played college at Florida and was signed with Miami's practice squad. So again, a depth acquisition there to help this Miami Dolphins receiver room in the absence of River Cracraft. Week 5's matchup, we've talked about it. We've said it time and time again. The Dolphins are heavy favorites. We love the Dolphins at home in this get-right spot, this bounce-back spot. Week 4 is behind us. It's in the rearview mirror. We'll get another crack at the Buffalo Bills in Week 18 of the NFL. And you know what? There might be some divisional title implications in that game. I'm going to try and speak it into existence, but the Dolphins will have their revenge against the Bills soon enough. However, Week 5 is all about the G-men and kicking their ass because the Dolphins are the better team. Far and away. 11-point favorite. Make it 14. I don't care. I gave you my score prediction, but I want to know yours. Let me know in the comments. Predict the score of the Week 5 game, Dolphins versus the New York Giants. I'll give you mine one more time. Look, I think this is a 6 or 7 touchdown game for the Dolphins. So I'm saying 41-20, complete domination, once again by the best offense in the National Football League. I might sound overconfident, probably because I am. Listen, Mike McDaniel will have that team ready to play so they don't have to go through another humbling defeat. Tua said it to the media after the game on Sunday. Hey, maybe this team needed to be humbled. Maybe this was a little wake-up call for the Dolphins. I believe Week 4's loss was exactly that. That's why I think the Dolphins will win big on Sunday, 41-20. Woo!
There we go. 41-20.
I'm confident. I really am.
Dominic says 44-17. Get your score predictions in the comment section. I want to see where you're at. What are y'all feeling? Do you think it's going to be a blowout, close game maybe? I think it might be closer than people think. The Giants have been getting embarrassed. I still think the Dolphins win, but I'm saying 31-20.
Oh, all right. So still, you got it right on the spread. I love that. 11-point win. That's a guy that knows ball. Vegas doesn't have any friends. They're not into storylines. They're into accuracy and beating the books or beating the books.
51-7.
How about that, sports fans? I do also, you know what? I should have said this, and it's worth repeating, but it's the National Football League. Anything can happen. Those guys are millionaire athletes on the other side too. Those guys are talented. But I still love my Dolphins.
They got embarrassed.
They did. So if the Giants have any dignity at all, if Marshall Green has any dignity at all, this Giants team will put up a fight in at least 3/4 of the game before the Dolphins completely take over.
Says 37-28. They don't cover.
Wow! Come on! Come on!
38-17. I mean,
listen. Good teams win. Great teams cover. I think the Dolphins should cover.
John Green, 34-15. I think it'll be right there. I mean, Vegas knows. I can't imagine the Giants just lay down like that. Like, I can't imagine that they are just that bad. I don't even know if Marshall's little heart can take another Giants loss like that.
That is true. It will. I won't take complete satisfaction and excitement in the embarrassing state that the Giants are in, because I love my guy Marshall so much. However, it still is, it's kind of funny. Like, right, we can laugh a little bit.
Oh, I mean,
not at his expense, but.
Our Giants host was absolutely in shambles.
That's all right. I would be too if my team sucked that bad. But, hey, I want to hear from you.
Preston, is $770 billion to 2? That would
They're going to get a safety. They're going to get a safety.
They're going to get one safety.
Hey, there you go. I do think, seriously though, I think this Dolphins defense needs to pin their ears back and needs to get right, because Bradley Chubb and some of the other pass rushers, Christian Wilkins,
Van Ginkel.
Yeah, Van Ginkel was good. I was going to say Bradley Chubb has underperformed other than that game against the Patriots. And, all right, he played pretty well in Week 3 on that snoozer against the Broncos. But he's the guy. He's the guy, I think, that this defense goes as he goes. And Van
Jalen Phillips has been up and down. He's been injured.
Yeah, he's been hurt. Yeah, he's been hurt. And Van Ginkel in his place has played exceptionally well. He was the only bright spot in that game against Buffalo. But this Dolphins defense, I've seen a lot in the chat about Vic Fangio, maybe patience wearing a little thin. Remember, guys, Vic Fangio is a proven defensive-minded coach that has had success in the National Football League, but his system can be a little bit wonky. You know, there's some of that off coverage. Kader Kohou found himself in some tough spots, having to chase Stephon Diggs all around the field in that game. But it's coming. It'll come together. I think 4 weeks is, you would like them to be a little further along. Sure, absolutely. But I don't think it's panic meter time yet for this defense.
The person who I'm most concerned about, Cam Smith.
Yeah, that one's interesting. That one's really interesting, and Joe Shad had an interesting, one of the beat writers for the Dolphins, basically begging Vic Fangio to give the guy a shot, and the rationale behind it, from my understanding, I use that as my crutch phrase there, so it's just what I'm understanding, is that he hasn't really earned the trust of Vic Fangio yet. And in my mind, I'm thinking, it's a second-round draft pick. And let's get him out there, and maybe it is baptism by fire, but get him between the white lines, give him some game experience, and let's just see how he can play as the cornerback. Because Xavier Howard's played well, and I think Kader Kohou has played 3 really good games, but that 4th game was so bad that it's kind of clouded the rest of the sample size. And so a lot of people have Kader Kohou as a guy that needs to really improve his play, but really he needs to improve upon week 4.
Speaking of need, we absolutely need some more mailbag questions. We only got about 4 or 5 in there right now. So if you want to get on the mailbag, 2 ways to do it. The easiest way, #Dolphins. Just like Ruski237 put your question, put #Dolphins, whatever question, whatever statement. It doesn't have to be a question. You can just say #Dolphins. Dolphins are going to beat down the Giants this week. Whatever you want to say. Sherry May, I did get your #Dolphins this time. I was able to put it in before the show.
We love you, Sherry May. We love you, Sherry May. We love you.
We're not worthy.
Also, a super chat. A super chat will cut the line. And listen, we didn't have any super chats on our last live show. I said before today's show, if we get enough super chats, I'll start doing espresso shots again. We've got the espresso made. I'm ready to go.
Wow. #Dolphins in the comment section to get on today's mailbag. Carter, Carlos, I see you. Going to put you on the mailbag today. If you want to get on the mailbag, get your question on screen right here. It's as easy as putting #Dolphins in the comment section, asking or saying whatever you want about the Miami Dolphins, and you're going to get on screen here live on the Tube of You.
Oh, the Tube of You. I like that. I never heard that one before. YouTube. How about that, sports fans? Sherry May, love you. Thank you. That's awesome.
We have some more questions rolling in. Once we get a couple more, then I'm going to start the mailbag show. But like I said, we need your questions. We can't do the show without you, the fans. So just like Ricky, just like Carlos, Sherry May, just like Ruski, get those questions in.
I need you now.
Just like Preston, get those questions in using #Dolphins.
What's that song? I need you now. When everything's wrong, you make it right. I just know that song. That's all I got for you. I'm not a great singer. It's the best I can do.
Appreciate
I think it's Lady Antebellum. I just need you now.
All right. Appreciate that, Jake. So we have a Dolphins mailbag coming up.
My American Eagle, or my American Idol dreams are shot.
Oh, my God. All right. I think we are just about there. All right. We're going to get into today's mailbag. Keep on asking those questions using #Dolphins. And Jake is going to answer them one by one by one.
We'll stay here all night if we have to.
Not all night.
No, all night. We could be all night. Surfboard.
All night long.
Yeah.
All right.
I love that.
Here we go with our Dolphins Today mailbag.
Welcome into another Dolphins Today mailbag. It's Ask Anything. Nothing is off limits. So glad to have you along. I am your host, Jake Riepma, and it's one of my favorite times a week because we just get it going. We get it going with all the questions. Nothing's off limits. Submit your questions using hashtag Dolphins, and let's get it going right away with one of my favorites, the one and only, Sherry May, the one and only part of this Dolphins Today community. Appreciate your question. Let's get into it. Dolphins, Giants. D has most misses in the NFL. Will we burn them with our quickness 5 times, 10 times? Look, I think the over-under being at 49.5 is, I always say, life's too short to bet the under, and that's definitely the case with this one. You know my score prediction. I think the Dolphins are scoring 6 touchdowns, maybe 7. I'm saying 41, and so I think the fact that this Giants defense has proven they're not the best tackling team. They are 30th in scoring defense, so not quite dead last like their offense, but this defense also hasn't forced a turnover the entire season, which is kind of, when you think about it, in 4 games, you haven't forced 1 turnover. Egregious. So, yes, to answer your question, Sherry May, I'll say 10 times. I think Davante is going to have a field day, a nice little bounce-back game for Raheem Mostert, and this offensive line is going to protect Tua Tagovailoa. Tyreek Hill, he was on an incredibly fast pace, record-breaking pace for the most receiving yards, got slowed down a little bit in Buffalo, but he bounces back, and we just keep it going. No chance this Giants defense can match the speed, quickness, and athleticism of this Dolphins offense. Ruski 237. Do you think Achane deserves to be RB1? If so, do you think Jeff or Raheem is on the trade block? And give Brooks and Ahmed some time to play. Savon Ahmed. That's a great point because I think even as much as 2-3 weeks ago, we were talking about this Dolphins team maybe making a blockbuster trade for an available running back. And in the offseason, we are talking about bringing in Dalvin Cook or some kind of big name like that. And the way Devon Achane has burst onto the scene has exceeded all of our wildest dreams or expectations. And I do think he's made the case to be RB1. Now, all due respect to him, this is not a knock on him. It's just facts are facts. He's 5'7", maybe 180, 185. So I'm not sure I'm ready to hand him the ball 30 times a game just out of purely precaution for his health. And I think when you complement that with a guy like Raheem Mostert, who has proven he can tote the rock that many times and be that workhorse, it is just a fantastic combination that really is tough to stop. That's why the Dolphins have the best rushing attack in the National Football League. As for Jeff Wilson, that one's tough because he started the season on IR, so there's still some unknowns. And Savon Ahmed, also a valuable candidate there. And if it gets to that point, the end of the month, later in October here, where one of those guys could be deemed valuable in the trade market, I don't necessarily hate the idea of sending one on their way and getting something in return because of the success that Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane have had. So that's a great question. Difficult to answer exactly, but I love our running back room. Hanky Fins! Glad we get to play the Giants this week for a bounce-back game. LOL. Exactly. That's how you end the sentence when you're talking about the Giants in any capacity, offense or defense. LOL. Laugh out loud. That's how bad their defense has been. That's how bad their offense has been. And the tape doesn't lie. I'm not telling anyone anything they don't know. They just haven't been good. So that said, I'm going to put my football coach hat back on like I had for our preview. This is the National Football League. You can't take a week off. You can't go in overconfident. You still got to execute. You still got to play your game, be the best team out there, and go out and dominate like you're expected to do. That was my best coaching. But I completely agree. Is this Giants game going to be an easy win? What say you? I want you to let me know in the chat. It's our pinned comment for the day. It's an easy one. You think this is going to be an easy win? Type yes or no. I think it is going to be an easy win. So I've said that time and time again. You still got to go out and play your game. But point being, this Dolphins team is superior to this Giants team talent-wise. Are you worried after last week's loss, or do you still see us as contenders? That's from Zelest Smoke. I still think the Dolphins are the team to beat in the AFC, and particularly in the AFC East. And you could say, yeah, you're crazy. Look what the Bills did. They embarrassed them. It was a hostile environment. It was in Buffalo. Josh Allen had a field day. Yes, give them their flowers. They deserve the credit. However, it's one game in October, the beginning of October, on October 1st. That's when that game took place. I think when we get to week 18 of the season, it'll be a totally different conversation, and this Dolphins team will have proven to be the team to beat in the AFC and in the AFC East. Look, make no mistake about it. I think the Dolphins and Bills are the two best teams in the AFC. The Ravens maybe, but I don't think, no matter how good the defense might be for the Ravens, I don't think they're slowing down Tua, and I don't think that offense for Baltimore can put up enough points to stay in games against some of the premier teams in the AFC, like the Bills, like the Dolphins. So I'm not particularly worried. I also think the schedule favors the Dolphins a little bit, where you get kind of these two easier games with the Giants, followed by the Panthers, before another show-me opportunity on Sunday Night Football against the Philly Scumbag Eagles, and a chance to really prove it to the rest of the National Football League like they were unable to do in Week 4 against the Buffalo Bills. So I ain't worried. All right, Carter, what does he say? Trade Chubb for picks and Brian Burns. Interesting, because Brian Burns, yes, Chubb and picks for Brian Burns. Burns being the edge rusher for the Panthers, and they might be in sell mode, obviously, given the state of their team, but I've seen enough from Chubb of what he's capable of. I haven't seen it at a consistent level yet in 2023, but it's there. The Dolphins mortgage the future a little bit to get Chubb, and because of that, I want to see Bradley Chubb succeed in Miami, and I think there's been enough of a sample size successfully showing what he's capable of. I mean, I think maybe it's a stretch, but I don't think they win that game in New England without Bradley Chubb. Couple of sacks, had the forced fumble, and really can be that spark plug for this defense. Not to mention, Vic Fangio coached him in Denver, knows how to utilize him. They have a little bit of chemistry there. I'm a Bradley Chubb fan, and I think it's one of those things he's too talented to give up on just because of one bad game against the Buffalo Bills. I want to thank Game Time for sponsoring today's edition of our mailbag on Dolphins Today. Look, Game Time's great. I've been telling you about them for weeks now, and I've been using Game Time for years, way before I got to Chat Sports. It is far and away the superior ticket app option. I've been using it for a while, for a couple of different reasons, but mostly because I know I absolutely can rest assured that I'm getting the best deal, lowest price guarantee, and it even works day of, last minute. Look, sometimes I'm a spontaneous guy. Say, hey, let's get the boys together. Let's go to a game. Maybe you want to go to the Dolphins game on Sunday. It's a home game. Go watch them blow out the Giants. All you need to do is download the Game Time app. It is far and away the best ticketing app to use. Also super easy to use, which I love. You know, you're not going to get one of those renderings or one of those diagrams. You're going to get a real picture of where your seats are. There's absolutely no deception with the Game Time app, which I absolutely love. And for being a Dolphins fan, a Dolphins Today subscriber, we're giving you $20 off that first purchase when you create an account and redeem with the code FINSCHAT. That's PHINSCHAT. FINSCHAT for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today because it takes the stress out of buying tickets, which I absolutely love. Create that account. Use that code PHINSCHAT for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but not to worry. Create that account. Redeem that code. 20 buckaroos off for being a Dolphins Today subscriber and a Dolphins Today fan. Download the Game Time app today for the best last-minute tickets with the lowest price guaranteed. Let's get back to some of your mailbag questions using that hashtag Dolphins. What about Ramsey? I would love to see him in the Dolphins uniform making meaningful contributions and impactful plays on the defensive end ASAP, but you also don't want to rush him back. So yes, the Dolphins secondary could use a boost, but Jalen Ramsey, in the latter portion of his career, I'm not going to say he's on the back nine, but obviously needs to be fully healthy before we can expect him to be back in the lineup. What that timetable looks like, optimistically, we're thinking December. But again, it's one of those things. He's too good of a player to try to rush back and then have him re-aggravate something like that. So I think patience is a virtue when it comes to a player like Jalen Ramsey. It's not like he needs to prove anything. He's been a shutdown corner, a premier corner in this league for a long time. And like I said about the schedule, I think the Dolphins have a golden opportunity to create some distance in the AFC East, buy some time a little bit to not have to force Jalen Ramsey back. Plus, like a lot of the beat writers are saying, let's give the rookie, the second-round pick, Cam Smith out of South Carolina, an opportunity in the midst of this secondary shuffle where Vic Fangio's trying to plug and play a little bit. So we're not going to rush Ramsey back, not until he's fully healthy. Still optimistic he makes a meaningful contribution to this Dolphins defense in the regular season and into the playoffs. Ricky Castillo! By what week do you think our defense will be good? Week 5, baby, against that Giants offense that's last in the National Football League, scoring a whopping 11 points per game. Sorry, 11 points and change. I shortchanged them there. But this Dolphins defense is still finding its identity, to be serious for a second. I've said it about Vic Fangio. I'll say it again. I trust him. He is a proven defensive mind. He's a Super Bowl winning coach, albeit as a defensive coordinator, not as a head coach. But you get the gist. He knows what he's doing. His scheme is a little bit wonky. He has some tough ass of some secondary players. That was on full display against the Buffalo Bills. And you had Kader Kohu chasing Stephon Diggs all around the yard. And it takes time. So I think week 5 is a great opportunity to prove it against an inferior opponent. And keep in mind, we have seen signs of it from this defense where they've been opportunistic, where they forced turnovers. That game against the New England Patriots, 2 crucial turnovers were forced to help seal that win. And then again in the game against Denver, they were opportunistic in forcing several fumbles and so on and so forth. So it's not a perfect science. There's not a predictable timeline with it, but there's at least optimism, not optimisticism. Dance King, I believe that the defense will improve throughout the year. Remember, this is a new system for our players. Hey, Dance King, that's my guy, and I can say it till I'm blue in my face, but I appreciate you, the fans, the listeners, the viewers that also get it. You guys get it. You're the real ones. So yes, it takes time. And what was that movie? You can't rush perfection. I think that was an Owen Wilson line in some movie somewhere. So you can't rush perfection. All right, what does Sidney Jacobs have to ask? Could Nick Needham play this week against the Giants? I think this week might be too much of an ask, given the fact that today, being Wednesday, was his first return to practice. So that said, I don't think he'll be in the lineup on Sunday, but I think he's trending that way. Him coming back to practice, albeit in a limited capacity, is a great sign. It's a welcome sign, and also just gives Vic Fangio one more piece to utilize in that defensive system. So I don't think it'll be this week, but it's one of those things we'll continue to monitor as it progresses. While we're talking Dolphins secondary, I need you to be real with me. Weigh in on this one. How would you grade this Dolphins secondary? A, B, C, D, or F? Unfortunately, at times against the Bills, it did look like a D or an F. But against the Patriots, Xavier Howard made a couple of plays. And at times against the Broncos, this secondary looked like an A or B quality. Let me know in the comments. Got to be real, though. Got to be honest. I'm right now ready to give them a B-, C+. So room for improvement, absolutely. Couple more questions here. Can Tua win MVP? and Achane win Offensive Rookie of the Year? Love the question. Josh Allen did pass Tua as the odds-on favorite to win MVP, but Tua is right behind him. I don't have the odds off the top of my head, but I believe Josh Allen was only a little bit ahead of Tua in terms of the odds-on favorite. So he's right there in the conversation. And statistically speaking, he's still one of the top quarterbacks in the National Football League. Obviously, when you can boast the top scoring offense, the top passing offense, that's going to help the MVP resume. But I think if you ask Tua, and anyone on the Dolphins for that matter, it's such a team game. They're not worried about individual accolades. And yes, we can get excited about that as fans of the team. It'd be awesome to see Tua Tagovailoa hoisting that MVP trophy. And in my opinion, through the first 4 weeks of play, he would be my MVP despite Josh Allen having that field day in week number 4 against the Dolphins. So yes, I think absolutely Tua can win the MVP. Now, Davante, that one's going to be a little bit tougher for a couple of reasons. Most notably in Houston, a guy by the name of C.J. Stroud has been so good. You got to tip the cap to him because he entered a system in which many people didn't believe he'd be successful because it wasn't necessarily ready for a quarterback to just step in and make plays the way that he has. But all the credit in the world to C.J. Stroud. I checked the odds on favorite for that, and he is, in fact, your favorite for Rookie of the Year. And I think the position also lends itself to that a little bit because we know it's a quarterback's lead. And then Anthony Richardson, too. Indianapolis has kind of been an odd case study, if you will. Many thought they were rebuilding. Jonathan Taylor was upset, and then they just unexpectedly went out and are at 500 through 4 weeks of the season with a big win over Baltimore. They did lose in overtime to the Rams, but Anthony Richardson hasn't necessarily been incredible in terms of passing statistics, but he's been electric. He's been dynamic with the football. He's got 4 rushing touchdowns in just 3 games because he missed the 1 game. So when you take that stat into consideration, I think C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson are probably the 2 that will win, or are most likely to win that Offensive Rookie of the Year. And then Achane, certainly the top rookie running back of note for that Offensive Rookie of the Year. Last question from Fins Fan 2003. Can the Dolphins win the big games? Yes. And what am I basing that off of? Hope and a prayer, baby. No, I think the Dolphins do have what it takes to be a legitimate contender. I've been pounding the table about this all week. I don't think you have an offense like that, and you're never out of a game with an offense like that. This team has proven they can put up points in a hurry, and yes, you'd like to see a little bit more from the defense against good teams, but they're never out of it with that offense. And I'm with you. When Braxton Berrios caught that touchdown to make it a 2-score game in the second half against Buffalo, I was all in, baby. I thought a couple of stops by the defense, and here we go. Turns out the defense never got those stops. But I do think this Dolphins offense is generationally good. Therefore, you're never out of games. But it would be nice to see them prove it against some quality opponents because, yes, the Chargers, say what you will, but winning on the road is always a challenge. Patriots haven't been good, and that was the Dolphins' second win. So you were still waiting for that statement win. And the next 2 weeks, schedule's pretty easy. Giants and Panthers, I'm counting those both as wins. Then it's fun. It's another show-me game, Sunday Night Football against the Eagles. All right. Want to thank everybody for your participation in today's Ask Anything mailbag. It's always a pleasure getting together with everybody and just rapping about the Miami Dolphins. Because when you say Miami, we're talking Super Bowl, obviously. But I don't want you to miss anything. And in order to do that, you need to turn your notifications on. You need to subscribe. Let me try that again. You need to subscribe. I got so excited. You need to subscribe to Dolphins Today, because you'll never miss a thing. And it's always a good time. Whoa. All right, I'll stop singing. But you get the point. Subscribe to Dolphins Today. Never miss a thing. It's always a blast. We also have live watch parties on Sunday. This Sunday, we're having a watch party, and it's a battle royale. Bring your boxing gloves, baby. We're taking on the Giants. The Giants channel is one of the most successful channels here at Chat Sports, and we got to show Dolphins fans are the real one. I'm getting pumped up just thinking about it. So subscribe to the channel. Thanks for your participation in our Dolphins Today mailbag. Woo! Bring them out. Bring them out. It's hard to... No, yeah.
It's hard to yell when the background's in your mouth. Sing it.
Woo! I got the hot girls yelling. Bring them out. Bring them out. Hey! No, I'm a big T.I. fan. The Paper Trail. Hell of an album.
I have a interesting question for everybody out there, and it's going to take you maybe a second to think about it. Maybe put on your thinking caps. One thing the Dolphins need to improve on is what? If you could say, for a fact, this one thing I need the Dolphins to improve on, what is it? And it's kind of not pre-recorded. We're live right now here on YouTube. What is the one thing? I'm going to take it to you. What is the one thing the Dolphins need to improve on?
There's a couple of different directions I could go with this. I am going to get really football guy-y for a second, really specific, really break it down with the X's and O's. I think the interior defensive line, because I also want to go off what I know this Dolphins team is capable of. I think that interior defensive line and the edge rushers are capable of generating more pressure on the opposing quarterback. And and some of this was Josh Allen making plays with his feet, eluding the rush. That's what makes him so good. But in that game, and for the season as a whole, of the Dolphins' 10 sacks, only 3 of them are by interior defensive linemen. And that's an area in the National Football League, it's been proven time and time again, if you can organically generate pressure with 3 down linemen, that gives your defense that much more of an opportunity to be successful. And even look back all the way to week 1, when they got pressure on Justin Herbert and the Chargers, it was because of blitz packages that were dialed up. A couple of the sacks were by cornerbacks. Kader Kohu had a sack on a corner blitz. Andrew Van Ginkel had a sack on a blitz. And so if you're able to generate pressure by the interior defensive line, it opens up a whole host of opportunities defensively for the back 7. And that's an area I'd like to see the Dolphins improve on. Because, again, I know they're capable. I know Christian Wilkins is a guy that can get pressure on the quarterback. Zach Zeeler, also a guy that's played pretty well against the run, but I want to see them take the next step in generating pressure against the pass as well. Because those are game changers, baby. Game changers.
I like it. Let's see. Maurice said defensive takeaways. It's that Kai said defense. Maurice said also pressure on the opposing QB. Maurice, I said one. You can only choose one. You can only choose one. Sherry May said secondary must not miss. SL Flame says defensive back. Looks like a lot of defense.
Yeah.
Offensive line and defense.
Listen, it's tough to complain about the offense when you're the number 1 scoring offense with the most passing yards and the most yards per game. I mean, that checks a lot of boxes. If anybody's complaining about the offense, those expectations are sky high, baby.
All right. I think this might be my favorite segment of today.
Yeah, especially when you talk about what the defense might need.
Some blockbuster trades.
Blockbuster, and we're not talking about the movie store, or are we? I loved going to Blockbuster, man. That was a great Friday night. You just ride your bike up to Blockbuster.
Big Blockbuster guy.
Oh, absolutely. It's a shame. I mean, obviously streaming's more convenient and everything, but there was nothing like that as a child. Some of these guys in the Chat Sports office probably don't even know what a Blockbuster is. And being able, and then after that, it was the Red Box. You remember going to the Red Box? You get the DVD out of the Red Box. Those were great.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited. All right.
Now you just turn on Netflix or Hulu.
Here we go. Blockbuster trades. And before everybody gets mad in the chat, we're not saying that these trades are definitely going to happen. These are names to look out for. And, I mean, being Dolphins fans, y'all should know. With the Dolphins, anything is possible. Who before they traded for Tyreek Hill was like, oh, yeah, the Dolphins are going to trade for Tyreek Hill.
Good point. I know I wasn't.
anything is possible when you're talking about the Dolphins and the trade block. So,
anything's possible!
Rietma is going to break down some blockbuster trades the Dolphins could make as the NFL deadline approaches. Rietma, are you ready to rock?
We're ready!
Let's rock! Here we go in 3, 2, 1.
It's another edition of Dolphins Today, and we're talking about blockbuster deals to have your eye on as we enter the month of October, the trade deadline at the end of the month. Our Dolphins are in prime position, tied at the top of the AFC East, obviously behind Buffalo after they lost with that tiebreaker, but 3-1 start, eyeing their first 4-1 start in over 20 years, and you got a lot of good things going. But we also have some holes to maybe fill by way of the trade, something this Dolphins team has proven to do in the past. So we're not saying this is going to happen per se, but look at the team's history when it comes to blockbuster trades. The team's recent history, I should say. Wasn't that long ago when the Dolphins made a splash and brought in Jalen Ramsey. We obviously know that they brought in Bradley Chubb by way of trade. And oh yeah, the Cheetah, that's right. He was traded to the Miami Dolphins in another blockbuster deal. So Chris Grier, the general manager for this Miami Dolphins organization, has proven he's not afraid. He's not afraid to make a trade, Everybody. No, so here's an example of the Jalen Ramsey trade, which the Dolphins pulled off not too long ago. They sent a 2023 third-round pick and Hunter Long in exchange for Jalen Ramsey. Wasn't that long ago, the Dolphins also brought in Bradley Chubb by way of the trade, sending that 2023 first-round pick via San Francisco over to the Broncos, as well as the 2024 fourth-round pick, and of course the running back Chase Edmonds. Not to be outdone by that trade with Tyreek Hill, bringing him in the Cheetah, the fastest player in the National Football League. And all they had to do was send over to Kansas City that first-round pick, number 29 overall, and a 2022 second and fourth-round pick, and a fourth and sixth-round pick of 2023. So, point being, we're not saying anything specific is going to happen, but you got to have your eyes open. You got to have your antennas out, if you will, and be aware of some of the big names that might be willing to be on the move, and the organizations that are willing to pick up the phone and listen to some trade talks. Starting, and none bigger, in my opinion, than the potential of trading for Patrick Surtain. We know what the Dolphins did to the Denver Broncos a few short weeks ago. They hung a 70-burger on them, and Patrick Surtain was on that defense. Listen, I think he's done with Denver. I don't think he wants to continue playing. Denver's team is in shambles. You got Sean Payton as the head coach. You got him yelling at the media. Yes, they just got a win against the lowly Bears, but they had to come back from 21 down to do so. And I think the Broncos, Bears, and Panthers are the three teams that have punted on the season and are simply thinking about Caleb Williams. They're 1-3 with only the win over the Bears, as I mentioned. And the Broncos are on record saying, we'll play ball. We'll listen to some potential trade talks. So Patrick Surtain could be a guy that's on the move. And what better spot than the Miami Dolphins, who secondary has been a little bit of a weak spot. And not to mention, not only is Pat Surtain II not happy in Denver, his father, former Dolphins member himself, played for the Miami Dolphins. He was getting active on Twitter. Yes, this was from a little more than a week ago when the when the Broncos were getting embarrassed by the Dolphins. But he tweeted this about his son toiling in the soil. SMH. You deserve better, meaning he deserves better than the Denver Broncos. Just like Steve Carell is better than the Gap, Pat Surtain is better than the Broncos. Let's get him to Miami. The Broncos are not the space for him. And look at this depth chart in which we could pair him with. Xavier Howard's been really good. Kader Kohou has at times, and I'll even say he's played 3 really good games. One really bad game. He got exposed by Stephon Diggs. That was a tough pill to swallow. But you add a guy like Pat Surtain into the mix, and Vic Fangio would have a field day. Not to mention, we still have the unproven rookie, Cam Smith, yet to make his debut for the Dolphins out of South Carolina, second-round pick. I want to see him in the lineup, but you get the idea. Adding Pat Surtain to this Dolphins secondary would be a welcomed addition. And yes, you would have to give up a lot. There's no getting around with that. Maybe a first rounder, maybe a second rounder. Not exactly sure. I think it'd be similar to the Jalen Ramsey deal. I think both those guys are pretty comparable in terms of lockdown corners in the National Football League. But I want to know from you. It is our pinned comment. Should Miami make a splash and trade for Pat Surtain? Type Y for yes or N for no. We also got to get into this because I think there's a little bit of noise. I'm not going to say it's pretentious noise or anything like that, or turmoil. I'm not going to use that phrase about the Dolphins secondary, but we made note of this earlier in the week. Xavier Howard wants to guard the team's best player. Kader Kohou, no disrespect, but the task of guarding Stephon Diggs was clearly too much. And when asked about not guarding Stephon Diggs, Xavier Howard said this: "It's a mentality for me. I want to go at the best. Let me make my money on the top guy. You pay me this money to go do what I do. But it's a new defense, a new scheme. I just have to control the stuff I can control." So obviously there's some frustration today frustration from Xavier Howard. And when you mix in the fact that Cam Smith also has not played for this Dolphins team, this tweet from Joe Shad, one of the beat reporters for the Miami Dolphins, said basically he's begging for Vic Fangio to give Cam Smith an opportunity. And Mike McDaniel and Vic Fangio are in collaboration together of what the strategy of the defense should consist of. Should that be Cam Smith getting an opportunity? Should it be Xavier Howard on the opposition's number one wide receiver? I think Vic Fangio in his first year as defensive coordinator is still feeling that stuff out and still getting a hold of exactly what that might consist of. You know what I'm not feeling out? Game Time. Because I know it's the best ticketing app. I don't have to wonder or question or try to piece things together. I know it is far and away the best ticketing app out there. And most importantly, they're a proud sponsor of Dolphins Today, which I love. We appreciate. Happy to be on board with Game Time because you're going to get the best deal, lowest price guaranteed on the best seats in the house, and last-minute deals, which I love because I'm a last-minute kind of guy. You ask anybody in the office, Reetma, what are you, a last-minute kind of guy? Absolutely. And the good thing is, you know exactly where you're going to be sitting because the app is super easy to use. There's no diagrams or grainy pictures. You get a clear, high-definition picture of exactly where you're going to sit. No deception. And good news. I come bringing good news. That's what I do. We're giving you $20 off with promo code FINSCHAT when you create an account and use that promo code PHINSCHAT. That's promo code FINSCHAT for $20 off your first purchase. Look, I love Game Time because you can snag the tickets without the stress. There's no stress. It's awesome. And so don't wait. Download the Game Time app today. Create that account. Use code FINSCHAT with a PH, PHINSCHAT for $20 off. Terms do apply, but create that account. Redeem that code for $20 off. And a big thanks to Game Time for helping make today's show possible. Download the Game Time app today for last-minute tickets and the lowest price guaranteed. Now, earlier it was confirmed that River Cracraft is going to miss some significant time. He's been placed on injured reserve, and so because of that, the wide receiver room might need some help. It's a little bit top-heavy, might be the best way to describe it, because I think you've got the top wide receiver duo in the National Football League in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. When both healthy, it's tough to beat that 1-2 punch. However, when you lose River Cracraft and Eric Ezukanma. Now, it was confirmed that Ezukanma is not going to need neck surgery, so there is potential that we could get him back, albeit he hasn't really had much of an impact on the season thus far. The same is not true for River Cracraft. He has a touchdown reception on the season on 6 catches with 87 yards, whereas Eric Ezukanma has just registered the 1 catch. Although Mike McDaniel has used Ezukanma in the running game a little bit, but you get the idea. It's a huge loss losing both of those guys together because River Cracraft can be kind of like that glue guy to help aid that offense in that wide receiver room. But let's get a little bit crazy for a second. How about the notion of perhaps trading for a guy like Davante Adams out of Las Vegas? We know he's unhappy with the Raiders. The Raiders season, not off to a great start, to say the least. Anytime you got fans screaming at the owner to fire the head coach, that's not great. But Adams was traded to the Raiders in March of 2022. Nobody saw that one coming, so perhaps another trade for Adams nobody's going to see as well. He's had a monster career, and he's kept it going with the Raiders. In 21 games, he's registered nearly 2,000 yards and 17 touchdowns, but he's unhappy and could perhaps be on the move. Now, that would be a blockbuster deal. That'd be something you mortgage the future for. That'd be a move where you're moving all your poker chips in on the table and saying, we are all in, which I wouldn't hate, but that would be quite a splash. That would be the type of move that really puts the rest of the league on notice, and I'm not sure the Dolphins are at that point in needing to do that. Plus, how much ball is there for Tyreek Hill, Davante Adams, and Jalen Waddle? But this is a quote that really stood out to me that I believe paints a picture of exactly how Davante Adams feels and why he might be on the move, saying earlier, it's not my mentality to sit here and try to take all season and figure it out. You use these early games like this to establish an identity. We're not doing things the right way to establish a winning culture. So I think some team might pony up and trade for Davante Adams. Do I think it's going to be the Dolphins? Not yet. More likely, or perhaps a better fit, a glue guy, a guy that could also add to the wide receiver room that might also be on the trade block out of the exact same place, the Las Vegas Raiders, and that is Hunter Renfro. He recently signed a 2-year, $33 million contract extension in the summer of 2022, so last summer, and he followed that up with his worst year as a pro, just 36 catches for only 330 yards and only 2 touchdowns. This is a guy that's won his whole life. He won at Clemson. He won when he entered the league. He's been a guy that you can count on. Only has 5 receptions this season in 4 games. And he's only playing less than 45% of the snaps. So obviously, for some reason or another, he's fallen out of favor with that coaching staff of the Raiders because he's a proven guy that should be playing more than 45% of the snaps. And again, I don't think it's an exact comparison, but he's not a number 1 option, just like River Cracraft wasn't the number 1 option, but he could be a guy that completes the wide receiver room. You've got the dynamic electricity, game-changing potential of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and then you throw in a steady go-to guy for Tua to utilize in Hunter Renfro. I love the idea of trading for Hunter Renfro, and I don't think it would cost you too much either. So I need you, maybe even a 7th-round pick. I need you to weigh in on this one for me because we've got a couple of different options for you, and let me know in the chat, of the 2 players we mentioned, who do you want the Dolphins to trade for? Type DA for Davante Adams, obviously a higher asking price, or HR for Hunter Renfro, maybe a better fit, or if you're like, oh, Reetma, we're good. We don't need anybody. Go ahead and type N for neither. I think the Dolphins are good. If you can work something out with Hunter Renfro, that would be the one I'd be more on board with because the asking price for Adams is just going to be too much. I love Tyreek Hill. I love Jalen Waddle. If you want to throw in Hunter Renfro and it makes sense, make the call, get in collaboration with the Raiders, and let's figure something out. However, I'm not quite there. In fact, I'm a little bit more concerned about this offensive line room as opposed to the wide receiver room. This Dolphins offensive line is beat up. Terron Armstead already been ruled out for Sunday's game against the New York Football Giants. Now, Kendall Lamb has played great in his absence. Isaiah Wynn has been good. Underneath Isaiah Wynn, you see Liam Eichenberg. He filled in for Connor Williams at the center position and was abysmal. No disrespect, he's just a really bad football player. And so I think the Dolphins' offensive line could benefit from making a trade to boost up that offensive line and add depth in addition to helping ease some of those injury pains that the Dolphins' offensive line. So it wasn't that long ago where after the game at Hard Rock Stadium, this individual sounded off in the comments with the media afterwards. Garrett Bowles, an offensive lineman for the Broncos. Yes, he's a tackle, but throughout his career, he's played just about every position in the offensive line. And Ian Rappaport believes, NFL Insider believes, Denver is willing to listen to trade offers for Garrett Bowles. Now, I'm going to paint a little picture here. Maybe you remember his outcry for essentially sounding off against the Broncos after their loss against the Dolphins. It basically went viral. I mean, he talked about since he's been here, all we've done is lose. Here's the exact quote. I've been here 7 years, and all I've done is lost. Broncos lineman Garrett Bowles shared his emotions after Denver's 50-point loss to Miami. Excuse me. We're good. That's how he feels about losing. He hates it. I felt the losing coming through there. Point being, Bowles wants to be on the move. The Broncos season is over. They're in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. They're tanking. Why not make a deal? Again, it's one I don't think will cost you a lot, maybe a late round pick, but something that the Dolphins could certainly benefit from by pulling the trigger. So keep your eye on a trade potential for Garrett Bowles from the Denver Broncos. Let me ask you this. What do you think is the position group Miami needs to improve upon the most? Let me know in the comments. Type S for secondary, WR for wide receiver, or OL for offensive line. You let me know. I'm very curious what you think. I think it's the offensive line because the wide receiver room, yes, it's been plagued by injuries a little bit, but I think those guys are going to come back. And when you have such talent at the wide receiver room, it doesn't necessarily make sense to pull the trigger. Whereas the offensive line has been decimated by injuries, not to mention the offensive line might be the most important ingredient to the Dolphins' success because if Tua doesn't have time to pass, we know what happens. I'm not going to get into all that. But point being, if you can shore up this offensive line, this offense will continue to be scary good. And perhaps the greatest offense since that 1999 Rams team, the greatest show on turf. So I think the Dolphins need to shore up the offensive line. The secondary is going to get healthy. They're going to get some help back. Not to mention you got Cam Smith there that you just haven't really given a chance. And if you took a second-round pick on him, you obviously believe in him. So that said, I'd love to see the Dolphins shore up the offensive line. And I'd also love to see you subscribe because we got a ton going on Dolphins today. We have a ton of fun. Our next watch party is for Sunday's game against the New York Football Giants. Come join me, join Jack. We'll have a great time watching the Dolphins dominate. We'll get it going early. We're going to have an extended pregame show. So we're going to get loud, early and often in preparation of a ass kicking to the Giants. Can't wait for that. So make sure you subscribe. You don't want to miss it. We've also got daily videos, live shows, all kinds of Dolphins content. It is your one-stop shop for Dolphins content. All right, Chugs, how we feeling, baby?
Feeling good.
Oh.
Those are some interesting names. Pat Surtain, Garrett Bowles. I mean, Dolphins just going to pick off the AFC West.
Yeah, I mean they've had some history with the Broncos and making some trades there, and why not just go back to the well? And if the Broncos could put together a formidable football team, we wouldn't be in this situation, but they can't. They suck.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the Giants, but I don't even know who the Giants have to trade that the Dolphins would be interested in.
Yeah.
Their O-line is horrible. Their secondary, not very good either. Not a lot to choose from there.
Yeah, I bet if you ask Marshall Green, he'd trade Kayvon Thibodeau.
You think so?
Yeah. No, he played better the other night. I just know he doesn't love Kayvon Thibodeau. I was watching the Manning cast on Monday Night Football when Will Ferrell was on there with the Manning brothers, and he kept calling Kayvon Thibodeau the French kid. I couldn't get enough of that. It was classic.
Oh,
all right, position group Miami needs to improve on the most. You've gotten a little bit dead in the comments. You're killing me, people. You're killing me. Help me out. Let me know in the comments. S for secondary, WR for wide receiver, or OL for O-line. Let me know.
I would probably say, the secondary probably.
Let's debate that for a second. And Chugs, I love this because you're in the know and so many different teams. I say that sincerely. I know I joke around a lot, but you're a guy who knows a lot about each team. And given where this Dolphins secondary is, and with Cam Smith just waiting to be used, Jalen Ramsey's going to come back, Nick Needham maybe.
Well, I mean, and we already saw it earlier in the year. A swap of corners. You know, y'all weren't using Noah Igbenogany. Cowboys weren't using Kelvin Joseph.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah.
Swap that. But, I mean, maybe you try to do something with Cam Smith if you're not going to use him because he's still got some value as an early round pick, a rookie, a young guy. Some team does see value in that kid.
Right. But
so at the end of, as you creep closer to the NFL trade deadline, October 31st, you're not going to use him. What do you do?
I think it would be malpractice is too strong of a word, but the notion of trading a second-round pick without him ever even seeing the field, I think that
crazier stuff's been done.
No, absolutely. But I am the type of guy that would always wonder what if. You know,
yeah.
It's like that beautiful girl in middle school that you just can't muster up the courage to ask out, and you always wonder what if. I had braces in middle school, so I had no chance.
If the Dolphins are going all in, do you do sort of like a Jalen Ramsey trade that you did earlier in the season? Do you go?
Yeah, for Pat Surtain.
Cam Smith, a future second, a future fourth for Pat Surtain.
I'd do that. All right, you convinced me. I still think the O-line.
I mean, the Dolphins aren't going to have a lot of draft capital moving forward, which I mean, in essence, you gave away a first-round pick that wasn't yours to the Broncos. You gave away quite a few picks to the Chiefs, but I mean that's kind of already happened. Right.
We can't cry over spilled milk. I love these comments because it was part of what we talked about. That defensive line is underperforming. Only the 3 sacks of the 10 total sacks. So I would love to see the defensive line improve because the investment's already been made in the defensive line.
Marcos, I kind of agree. Emmanuel Ogbah, he has been underperforming this season.
He did have the interception against the Broncos, but that was a lucky interception. It just fell into his lap. But you're not counting on your defensive end for interceptions. You're counting on your defensive end to get some pressure on the quarterback.
Stop the run.
Yeah.
So, great conversation today. Great live today. Hey, Reba.
Yeah.
Good stuff today. Good stuff today, man.
Thanks.
And, hey, we're going to be giving you good stuff all week long. And then this Sunday. You got to subscribe.
That's
Make sure you're here for the watch party. Reba, Jackie, Tequila, they're going to be rocking this Sunday.
And espresso shots. We're bringing those back because obviously I need that. I need some espresso.
So, be here this Sunday. Giants, Dolphins, producer Trizzy Trace.
Hey! Trace, let me let you in on a little secret. Trace walks around the office just yelling, hey! And making all kinds of obscene noises. What's the other one? Ah! Yeah, that's great.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
I think if somebody brought a GoPro to the Chat Sports headquarters for a day, they wouldn't believe what goes on.
You wouldn't believe what you saw.
All right, peeps. Love you guys. Love you guys.
Have a good one. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Jake and Jack going to be killing it this Sunday. Until next time, for Jake Riepma, I'm Jeremy Chugs. Y'all have a great day.
Love you guys.